Hello and welcome to Lights,
Camera,
and Conversation. We have special guests today and we're so excited to get started. I'm Walid Jaya.
I'm Kavita Raj, and today is a very special episode. I'm so excited.
Same.
And not only to always be like chit-chatting with my bestie, but today I have two more besties joining us on the show today. Andrea Knoche and Katie LeBlanc. Thank you, ladies, for being here and joining us today.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yes, I love that we have wine on our podcast.
Yes, we're going to talk about entertainment entrepreneurship, and we're going to talk about your podcast as well. We're so psyched for it.
Yes, so Andrea and Katie have a fabulous, sexy, hot podcast called From Misses to Miss.
Yes.
And I am so proud. I have been an ardent follower of the podcast from the time you guys started it. We talked about it before you even started it. And it was your personal journey just brought to life on a podcast and sharing it with people. And it is just you both being vulnerable and honest and being able to share these experiences that you think you're just sharing it, but for so many people it's so valuable that you're talking about what you're going through in this journey, and super excited to talk about that.
Yes.
And Andrea is a fellow music mom like me with two sons and fabulously talented, awesome kids and an awesome family that nurtured this journey and this experience. Hunter and Grant Knoche, great kids, super business-minded, super talented, and the music business is insane, as we know, as moms in this journey. We have another commonality. We're both from Dallas, Texas.
Dallas!
Yes. We're Texas girls here in Los Angeles now. And we're like super close friends that hang out, and we talk about our journeys in this business. And today just wanted to chit-chat about that.
I love that. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
What a great intro.
Yes, we're psyched.
Goodness, Katie.
Yeah. Wanted to just ask you to open up and tell us how the move to LA came about and how the journey unfolded as a family, because I know that it's not just about having kids in the business, but then it's also about being a family unit, juggling multiple things together. The industry needs a lot of time. It needs a lot of nurturing, a lot of investment. So how did that move to LA come about? And we'll go kind of forward, backward, and kind of catch up on everything.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having us. We're super excited to be here. So it's interesting because it started out because I got divorced, which is kind of what trails with us here doing the From Misses to Ms. But we started out, Grant has been in the music industry a little bit more than Hunter. Hunter is a drummer. Grant's now a singer-songwriter producer, but he started out with a group called Kidz Bop.
Yeah.
Kidz Bop.
Kidz Bop.
We know Kidz Bop.
So for those of you that don't know, it's they take songs of today and they make them kid-friendly. And so they pluck the words out that you're not supposed to hear and they put in the nice, sweet little words. And I kind of found myself listening to it in the car a lot more. Oh yeah, it's great. I kind of liked it better. But he was in that band when he was 10 years old. So he went on tour for 3 years. And that was kind of his start to everything. It allowed him to figure out how to be out in the open, doing whatever he wanted to do on stage. It allowed him to learn how to have interviews. And they did tons of social media stuff that they worked on, how to answer questions properly, how to have stage presence, So it was such a unique experience for him at that time to learn how to do that stuff and to do what he loved. And it's where he discovered what he loved to do. He didn't even know because he started out trying to do sports like his brother. He wanted to, he was playing soccer, he's picking daisies in the field, he's, playing basketball and he's putting the ball in the wrong hoop. I mean, we're just like, what is going on here? Which is interesting because Grant and I have actually written a children's book based on Grant for that whole story.
I love
I'm plugging that a little.
And you have to tell us more about that book because I remember we talked about it.
Yes.
And when is it coming out?
So we're still in the process. We've just finished all the illustrations. So now we're working on the next step for the editing and whatnot. We're hoping probably in 2024.
And it's about his journey as an artist getting into music?
It's his journey about how he kind of discovered what he loves to do.
Wow.
So like I said, he started out wanting to be just like his brother, play sports and do all that kind of thing. And so it goes through the soccer where he's picking daisies, the basketball in the wrong hoop, the football where he's just standing waving to mom and dad. And everybody's picked him because he's a big kid, and everybody's like, we want him on our team, and then he's like, hey mom, while the kid's pushing him back, And so in the book, he runs off and finds a pair of magical dance pants, and he puts the pants on, and he can all of a sudden dance, which is
fun.
Yeah, amazing. And so he's like best friends with the pants, and then he enters in a dance competition, and he can't find the pants, so he has to go on with his normal clothes, and he realizes it was always in his heart and his
That's
passion.
so
It was never the pants.
Yeah,
I know.
It's inner strength and
It's
that inner
so-
magic.
Yeah, and it's such a great story, and it's who he is, and it's about discovering who you are. And because he's also come out this year as bisexual. So not to say that everybody that dances is bisexual.
Of course.
Just that it's allowed him to be who he is, who he feels in his inner core. So so we used to call him Grancy Pants when he was young. So that's the name of the book. That'll be
So
coming
what was it like experiencing him try all these things to find music? And how did you just stumble upon Kidz Bop, or was he singing before?
No, so he was doing the sports that didn't work out, and then I saw him just dancing around in the house, listening to music in his own little world. And I thought, let's try that. Let's see where that can go. And so I put him in a boys hip hop class.
Fun.
And after maybe a month.
He's such a good dancer.
He's such a good dancer. Yeah. And after about a month of doing it, the owner of the studio came to me. Of course, they don't have a whole lot of boys that are dancing. And she came and said, he is so talented. Can we try him in other stuff? So Grant can actually do tap, jazz, ballet, lyrical, ballroom. He can do all of it. And so that kind of opened my eyes up to, whoa, let's try something different. And then I saw an audition for Kidz Bop come across, and I said to him, do you want to try out for this? And they were looking just for an all-American boy, blonde hair, that can sing and dance. There's not a lot of them that really can do all of it.
That's true.
And so I had him out. There's a video on YouTube of him out in the cul-de-sac of our home dancing and getting ready, and he sang the Cup song, that song where they're
my God,
From Pitch Perfect,
remember that?
Yes.
That was his song he sang, and I remember my ex-husband looking at me going, what if he gets this? And I'm like, I feel like he's going to get it. I think we're going on
had a
tour.
feeling.
I just had a
Wow.
feeling. It was right up his alley. And so, yeah, he had to do like a boot camp and for a few months, actually, a boot camp. And then he ended up getting it. So he was one of 4 kids. It was the first time that they were doing a live show, because Kidz Bop is known for their CDs. They like
Right.
tangible CDs. They sell millions of them. Their age demographic is mainly 5 to 12. It's in a very small zone there. And so he started doing that, and he went on tour for 3 years and did 160 shows over 3 years.
Wow. Did you go on tour with him?
No. So my ex-husband went on tour mainly with him.
Got it.
And it was kind of like a Thursday to Monday
Okay.
kind of deal. So they would leave. Yeah, they'd leave every Thursday to Monday and then come back. And then I would pick the particular cities that were intriguing to me. And I'm like, I'll go in this one. So I went and did that, and they were live shows, and they would do an hour and 45 minutes of singing and dancing live.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, but the experiences that he had, the places he got to go, and, we obviously had to pull him out of regular school, and he had a teacher on set. But the experience that he had from going city to city and getting to see new places, and like I said, learning the social media and figuring out who he was along the way, priceless.
And he was
Yeah.
only 10 years old when he
10.
started. How does he
Yeah.
understand? I mean, he's
He
smart,
just-
I'm sure,
yeah,
but
he's smart. He just, I think it's in you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think
It's a gift.
It is a gift.
It's a gift.
Not everybody can do it. Not
It
everybody
was very
loves
natural. It was just like he did what he loved, what
Yeah.
he was really good at.
Yes.
And people felt it.
Yeah,
So
and
it was just
he
like,
discovered. I mean, I don't even think he knew. I remember coming home from work one day, and we had a piano, and he was playing and singing, and I was like, what is going on? And he taught himself on YouTube. Just listening. He loves Adele, and he taught himself Adele songs.
We love Adele as
yes,
well.
right. And so he was playing and singing, and he discovered that he actually had a talent for it.
we're laughing because one of our guests called it the YouTube University.
yes.
Where, like, so many artists are learning right,
Yeah.
on
Off
YouTube.
of YouTube.
That is
There's so much to learn on
incredible.
there.
How was it for the family when that journey unfolded and both kids started getting into it?
Right.
So how was the family
Exciting.
dynamic, and how was it to go through that?
Yeah, it was very exciting. Now Hunter's the older one.
Yes.
He'll be 26
He's an entrepreneur.
He's an entrepreneur,
Yep.
but he actually started out on the Barney show.
Oh my
So,
God, yes.
yeah, he was a regular on the Barney show for a while, and so he did that. And then when he was 9 years old, he got a contract with Smuckers, so Smuckers Jam Jelly, and that was scary, exciting, all over these things. He was up against the kid that was in Desperate Housewives at the time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was interesting because you had somebody who was well known on the show. It was a big hit at the time, and then
Right.
you had Hunter who hadn't really done anything. And so they were looking for Tim and Richard Smucker and them as kids so that
Okay.
they could kind of show the journey of these kids
Yeah.
and how they came about, you
Yeah.
know, having this strawberry jam. Well, not
Yeah.
strawberry, they had like 10
Yeah,
different
yeah.
kinds, these different jams. So it came down to him and this other boy. And I remember when he went for the audition, they flew him here to LA. And my ex-husband would call me and say, okay, they just pulled him in with the younger, you know, the one that they're looking for, Richard Smucker, you know, so they would bring Hunter in with the younger one, and then they were trying different, and I'm like, ooh, that's good. You know, you get, you know what it is? You get so
Yeah,
excited
yeah.
when they're so
That
close.
moment.
Yeah, and so we just knew this was going to be a big opportunity, and he booked it at 9 years old, and it was supposed to be a 1 to 2 year contract. 10 national commercials, and thankfully they ended up running them for 10 years.
Wow. 10
Yeah,
years,
10 years,
of a
10
commercial. That's
commercials.
almost unheard of, I
Unheard
will
of.
say.
Yeah.
Unheard of. He was shooting, he did 3 years, he shot 3 commercials a year within 1 week, would go there, and they aired him for 10 years. And so
That's
yeah, he
incredible.
was able to make a nice nest egg.
Before you were in LA, how did you figure out how to find these opportunities for your kids and how to really trust the ways to navigate them?
So I actually did some modeling when I was younger. So I had gotten the kids started in some, you know, I knew how to get them into agencies. So they were with the Klutz agency in Dallas, is where they both started. And of course, because we had Hunter, then they took on Grant very easily. And so in addition, we would get, you know, auditions through Actors Access, Casting
Of
Network.
course.
We're still on Casting Network all the time. I'm constantly submitting them for stuff. And so that was just a start. It just came over on there. And I was like, let's go for it. You know, it's just, you miss what do they say? You miss 100% of the shots
you
never
don't take, yeah.
Right?
Right.
So we just kind of went for it and didn't know if we could work it into our schedule, into our, you know, our budget, because somebody's going to have to go with them. You know,
Right.
how's that going to work? But it was pretty great to just, yeah, be free and just go for it. You guys just try it, right? You never
Yeah.
know
I
what's
love
gonna
your
happen.
attitude, and I love that you were so brave and bold with your kids to try that.
Yeah.
But also, let's not forget, you put, you know, Grant, right, in dance class first.
Yes.
And it took a little bit of time to figure out what that niche was to make a move
Absolutely.
to LA for, that
Absolutely.
hobby to become a profession.
Yeah. Well, so fast forward a little bit. My ex-husband and I got divorced in 2017. We are still great friends. We were and are still great friends. And so it was a little confusing, I think, at the time for
Yeah.
us, because we were still hanging out and going to movies and doing stuff with the kids, but we're like, we're going to be divorced now, you know? So it was just a little weird for them, and we were selling our home. And so, you know, Sean was just like, if I'm going to go out of the house and we're going to sell the house, let's just go for it. Let's just go to LA. And so
Yeah.
they came here before I did. They
Yes.
came here for about 3 years before I did. And they just kind of hit the ground running. And then I joined them about 2 years ago.
Right. And then that transitions into your move to LA and your new life here. And us
Yes, crazy.
reconnecting in Los Angeles after the whole, you know, music bonding in Texas.
Yes.
And here in LA, you've not only embraced, moving to a new place, but also starting a whole podcast.
Oh,
And like
yes.
having met Katie here.
Katie.
And did you
Yes.
guys know each other before you met in LA? Or
We did not.
okay.
So do you want to tell the story?
Yeah. How did you guys meet?
here's
And then
the
we're going to transition into this other phase where you're continuing to be entertainment mom
Yes. Yeah.
for the boys, but then you also have a podcast and you're sharing this journey.
Yes.
And she has a job, like a 9
Of
to
course,
5.
a full-time job, yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Yeah,
Non-stop.
because you have more than
Hey.
24 hours in your day.
I know.
She's like Wonder Woman. Like,
Yeah.
Cozy up to that mic and tell us.
Okay,
Yeah, we
here we
want to
go.
know.
Well, Andrea and I met at hiking and wine.
Ooh,
through a
hiking and
mutual
wine.
friend.
Shout out.
Yes.
Shout out to wine. No hiking here.
We're not gonna hike today. And we didn't hike and wine at the same time.
I
just
love
to
my kind of hike.
Exactly. The wine was the prize at the end
Yes.
of the
Yes,
hike.
absolutely.
But we didn't know each other, and this was back in November.
Yeah, so we're very actually new friends.
Yes.
And I felt
And
like,
besties
I
now.
know,
I
and I
love.
felt like, we went on the hike, we came back and had the wine. We were with 5 other women that were all in the business as well. It was more of like it was people
It was
that
just
were
people
kids
we had
in
known from the
entertainment.
industry, yeah.
Yes, and so I kind of just sat back. I had had my own podcast initially, just called Mrs. to Ms. I was doing it by myself for a few months, and I loved it, but it was very difficult.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it by yourself.
Yes.
I can only be funny for so long.
Yeah.
Kavita.
We can only
Yeah.
laugh at our own jokes so many times.
I know. I can't imagine
Andrea's
doing
funny.
it. Yeah,
Participation.
that's tough. Yeah.
It was very tough, and so I just kind of sat back and watched Katie. She was about 2 years out of her divorce.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the vulnerability and the rawness in her, and I just kind of watched her. She was swiping on Bumble. At
I
the
wasn't
time.
like, hey, let's swipe on my Bumble. I was telling friends, I was updating some mutual friends that, post-divorce.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you dating? And I'm like, no, but I'm on Bumble.
Yeah,
And so they
and
thought
so
it would
we
be
brought
fun
it
to
up.
swipe on my Bumble.
Yeah, and
It was
so
cute.
That
Put
was
yourself
cute.
out there. Why not? You deserve it. Yeah.
Totally. And it was interesting because I think sometimes you don't know when you're doing your podcast, like if you
Yeah.
have really advice to offer, and not necessarily, not necessarily professional advice, but you can sometimes question, okay, if I say the wrong thing, what are we setting ourselves up for here?
Right.
So I remember that we were talking to one of the other women that was there, and she was very funny how, I was sitting there and she kind of sidled up to me and she was like, so Andrea, my ex-husband is back in my house and he's on my couch. What do I do?
What?
Yes. And I thought for a moment, I was like, I have substance. I have advice to give to somebody. And
Yeah.
that's when it kind of clicked to me.
Yeah.
Just watching all of it, being there like, wow, I should really move forward with this. And watching Katie, I was like, let me just talk to her and see what she's got going on. And so I waited, and I think the next day I kind of reached out to her and said,
It was kind of like after a first date.
Oh, that's so cute.
when I followed up, make sure you got home okay.
Yeah.
Like, the next day I got this really sweet text.
And I wanted
she
to,
texted
Oh my
me.
God.
I wanted to see her again.
Yes.
Sweet.
So sweet.
I
Yeah.
was very interested in Katie. And so I just said to her, what do you think about doing a podcast with me? And, if I remember, she was maybe like, oh, yeah, she wasn't really going
Yeah.
down that aisle, I guess. And so we
I'd
met.
always wanted to do one.
Yeah.
But
Aisle,
just
pun
hadn't
intended.
Yes.
exactly.
And-
I'm not really sure I want to go down that aisle
with
again.
you. And so we agreed to meet up for a happy hour, and we just talked it out. And then we were, she just kind of said to me, so do you want me to reach out to my network and see if we can get our show on there?
Yeah.
And I thought, what network? I didn't vet her out at all. I'll
Yes.
just
No,
say
it was just
that.
the chemistry. We're
It
like,
was
oh, I like her.
chemistry.
She's cool.
We were vibing off each other. I didn't know who she was. Her, she has some kids in the business. They changed their names. I was like,
She did.
I'm sorry.
She did.
She did change her name. And had I known the name first, I would have known. But I didn't
Yeah.
know this
Yeah.
name. It just didn't click for me. And so I was like, ooh, what network? And Katie had a YouTube channel.
Yes.
I'll let you kind of tell
Yes.
what you want
We
about
just
that.
had a family channel that
Yeah.
we vlogged every day on, and we have a little bit of a following from that. So we had a connection
Little bit.
through a network that we had worked with before, and I was like, oh, they might be a good fit to do a podcast
Yes.
with. They were doing podcasts now, so I was like, maybe we should try that. Or we could do it by ourselves.
And I'm
or
like,
we could do it with the
"No,
network.
I like your
I
idea."
don't know which way we want to do it. And
Yeah.
so we decided to try it with a network.
Yeah.
That's how
first.
ideas are born, right? To kind of like
Yes.
explore
You gotta
different
just see what happens.
Yeah, we
avenues.
could have gone either way. I think it would have been fine to try it on our own or through the network. We just kind of decided that let's try it with the network.
You
first.
used your
Yeah.
resources.
We
I mean,
used
why
our
not,
resources.
Why
right?
not?
Why
That's
not?
what I thought. Like, wow, she has this amazing following. She has these resources. Let's plug into that and see where this can really go. And so within 2 weeks, I think we had a contract.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say.
Congrats. I want to
Yeah.
toast to that.
Toast to them.
That's
Lots
so
of toasts.
exciting.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Yes.
ladies. So proud.
Yes.
So I'm curious to hear, and this is a question I love to ask our special guests. What do you know now that you wish that you starting off with your kids in their career, for example, or you with your podcast's a great medium of art as well,
Yes.
knew to begin with? Maybe a couple golden nuggets that you wish you could tell yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, a lot of it is about patience.
Oh
Is
my
very big
God.
because when you start out, you think everything's going to happen immediately, and when it doesn't, I remember submitting
I'm
both
still
the
working on
boys.
that.
Right, I submitted them for auditions, and I couldn't stand it. I'm like, one day goes by, did we hear anything? And I'm messaging the agent, anything, you know, and you know, like they're not going to call you. You got it, right? And so you
What
have
if they
to
lost
kinda-
your number,
That's
though?
right. That could
That's
happen. And so I was very eager and just, you know, had anxiety almost over it, like, oh, because you want it so bad.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And
But we
it's-
also think that's the end of it. That's
You're
it. That's
right.
everything right now.
And
Right.
it's not. And you're so right. That is the other nugget. And there's so much out there and so much for them to experience. And you never know which direction they're going to go in. I mean, I never thought that Grant, who is now writing and producing and singing and doing his own stuff, you know, he's starting to produce for some bigger artists.
Yes.
And that alone is like, wow, I didn't even know you had this talent in you.
Yeah.
And how cool to have something to fall back on. Now, I mean, with Grant, and I'm going to speak about him because he is he's got the it factor, and I'm not just saying this as his mom.
No.
Yeah.
On the way over here in the car, I literally said that Grant just has the it factor.
Absolutely.
And if you want to find
100%.
out, check him out on Instagram.
You will.
Because
You
you
will
know
will
it
hear his
immediately.
singles and you will
Yes.
I'm
see
Grant's
that.
biggest fan.
Yes. And
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Is to step back and learn
them.
that this isn't the be all end all of the experience.
Yeah.
And we realized it after the first and the second and the third rejection. The one thing I tell everybody in the industry is just toughen up, get
up.
like a really thick skin,
Yes.
because I don't think one will face more rejection in any journey other than in the entertainment
gosh,
space,
you can
right?
have a million
And if you
no's.
have young teens and kids in this business, just be ready to brace that rejection, because the rejection is nothing but just
Yeah.
another opportunity for a turn around the corner
Yeah.
for the next thing. And
Absolutely.
learning that and having that resilience really builds character.
And don't
That
you
is
think
huge.
the kids, though, have it more so than we do as the parents?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that resilience that they have shows in their character.
Yes.
It shows in their personality. And there is depth to them that is just so palpable.
yeah.
It is so great to watch
So
that.
cool to
It is
watch.
beautiful to watch
Yeah.
that, and that journey is amazing. And I think you're right. I feel like moments like I'm learning from my kids.
Yes.
And my impatience sometimes is looked down as like, calm down. Like, this will happen.
I
We're going to
know.
turn a corner and then something else is going to happen. I'm just like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And I had the best conversation with Grant, and Grant and I were talking about Rhea and him and the journey. And this is exactly what we spoke in that like brief chat. And it was like, just keep doing it
keep going.
and stay
It's going to
authentic.
be a yes eventually.
Yeah, it's going to be
right?
an yes eventually, and
Yeah.
and stay authentic.
Yes.
Stay authentic to your art. Be genuine to it. Do things that you have to do, but also do things that you really want to do.
Yes.
And then that shows in the way people see it. Because if you're just doing things just because it has to be done, people feel that too.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
we've all
that's,
been there, but
that's
yeah.
something that's super important about as Grant's gotten older is how he's taken on, he knows what he wants. And he knows what he wants to do and what direction he wants to go and what is no longer in his brand.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as parents, we try to push everything like, oh, but Grant, you should really do that,
I do
especially
that too.
because he's independent and he funds everything himself. And so any opportunities that come along, they're offering money. I'm like, Grant, you know, and he's like, but Mom, it's just not really in my brand or not the direction I'm looking to go.
Yeah.
And so acknowledging that and recognizing that, I think is, you know, obviously that's maturity and being in the business a long time and kind of knowing I'm headed right here and
Right.
focusing. But for us, it's a little.
It is hard because,
different.
but as an artist, there is also the diluting of the brand, and it is so important for that they recognize that.
Yeah.
And it was tough for me too. I was just like, oh my God, why, Ria, are you rejecting that software advertisement you got an audition for? She was like, Mom, I cannot be like doing this commercial.
Exactly.
It's
It's like
like
hemorrhoids.
it
or
is.
something. I'd be like, Grant, but it's paying $10,000.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah.
On brand.
Really.
but not hemorrhoids. Yeah. So.
That is so funny. No. But no, this is a journey and it's unfolding as we
Yes.
speak, and great things are happening. And your podcast too is like just growing, and like what is next
It's
in
an
that?
experience.
How is it turning, and what are some of the exciting things you're going through in the podcast with guests, and what are you
We've had some
hearing?
amazing-
What are some
really
secrets you're
great
hearing?
guests.
Oh my gosh, the secrets today. I don't even know that we can say it on here. But yeah, our show's a little bit rated R.
Only because of Andrea. No, I'm just kidding.
We have to tag it
You have to put explicit because-
Explicit, yeah.
Well, and actually, today's episode that we filmed earlier,
Our
was
guest was a little bit
definitely
more explicit.
which
Okay.
we loved.
Yeah, because it's about like coming out of your shell and talking to somebody that, we can be a little bit shy about what they're saying, but just the freeness of saying whatever you want to say within reason, and just learning about each other, and like, oh wow, some of the things that she was talking about today, we were just fascinated.
It's relatable, and I was saying earlier, it's kind of sad that we're relating to these
So much
issues because of divorce.
Yes.
and-
But divorce is so much more prevalent these days than it's been.
It's just part of
But
life.
boy,
it
It
is
just
part of
is.
life.
Yeah.
It
But
just
I
is.
also- You
think
try to work it out, but
well, and I
sometimes-
do think even in, we've seen a lot, I think, in the acting world or in the entertainment industry, that it feels like divorce is a little bit different up in there, like it seems like they get married and then 4 months later they're like, it doesn't work. And you see the split sign on Instagram, that these guys
Yeah.
are now
It's like
divorcing.
celebrities.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's as much weight on that as it used to be. I don't think people put as much effort into making a marriage work. They're not trying as hard because it is so much easier. You're like, all right, let's just cut it and move on.
Yeah.
It's so different than, gosh, when our parents, my
Yeah,
goodness, think of how
absolutely.
many people are really these days been married for that period of time. It just doesn't really happen anymore.
That is why
Yes.
you're sharing it is even more special, because when you've given a long time to relationship and a lot of years into it, sharing that now is really special and makes it different, because it is somebody that has given everything and then is now chartering these new waters,
Yes.
but also new technology and new new times that we're in.
Yeah.
And so
And it's sad that it's so relatable, but it is relatable. And so my story might not be the same as Andrea's story or our special guest story, but someone can always relate to
in
that
some way.
and
Yeah.
hope give some guidance.
And we
or-
just kind of wing it as
Yeah,
we
we
go
do- we
along.
definitely
It's not
wing it.
scripted by any means. We just kind of feed off each other and try to answer questions that pop in our head that make us really bring out the
It's
best. in
genuine.
us. It's genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are resonating with, is that chemistry that we have, because we're not, we're not looking at a specific script and let me ask you my next question. We're just shooting the shit, really. I'm sorry, can I say
yeah.
that?
Yeah, you can say it.
She's gonna.
Yes, I'm gonna.
no, this is a kids show. I'm kidding.
And let's welcome Kidz Bop.
Right.
And Barney. I didn't know that about Hunter.
So Hunter, I'm just going back to him real quick because I have 2 kids.
Yes.
That when I'm totally
You
pumping
talked
up
about
great.
Hunter
I
earlier.
do, because he's just chosen to go down a different path. Thankfully, he did the Smuckers. He made a lot of money, which was amazing, and is able to put away a nest egg for that, and then kind of do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So he is very much an entrepreneur. This kid's mind, I'm like, when he starts
Genius.
talking, my eyes start crossing. And
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
I don't even know what he's saying. And I'm like, just tell me how to do this. And so he's a researcher. He really wants to do the best that he can do with something, and he is a fact guy. And so I love that about him. He will do the research and tell you the facts, but he has started his own company called Apollo Management. He basically does brand deals, mainly with gamers on YouTube.
Okay.
So he's kind of the middleman between the gamer and the creative artist, and the sponsor. So they want to put like a little 15-second, sponsor into these gamers' videos. It's amazing how much viewers that gamers get. And
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
incredible.
Twitch
Yeah.
and gaming is a huge
Oh
market.
my gosh, they're just playing a game and people are tuned in to watch
Yeah.
it. I don't get it, but
Well, the rest of the world gets it.
yeah, they
No, it's
do.
insane,
It's insane
yeah.
the amount, and so he's able to put them together, and he has his own list of creators, and he's doing very, very well with it. And it's
Wow.
to me amazing how he just always told. He's like, I'm not going to work a day job like in an office.
Yeah.
A corporate thing. I want to be my own boss, and he has had opportunities where people have already come to him offering to buy his company and have him come work for them.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he is not ready for that yet. You know, he's like, I want to grow this myself.
Good for
Yeah.
him.
And he's hired. He has a team of people under him. He's 26 years old.
Do you feel like his experiences that you've mentioned, from the commercials to the music, have helped him kind of get to this creative business mind, and
do.
how?
I think that in some way it allowed him just seeing, oh, I booked this job, and where that can go with that, what you can have come as a result of it. The money that he made has allowed him to pursue something without having to feel like he has to stress about it. If he's not making money, he has a bit of a nest egg. So that's been great to allow that. But I think it's also instilled confidence.
Of
in
course.
him, and where he's like, you know what? It's like the opportunities are endless. Sky's the limit. Let me shoot for it. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that nurturing, right? That being able to, as a family, show your kids that at the end of the day, I believe in you and I want you to nurture your talent and your skills. It is so important as like a parent in this business, especially when you see your kids go through the up and the downs of it. It's like acceptance for celebration, acceptance one day, rejection being
Right.
down at the
Hard
next.
world,
And it's the up and the down, and going with that flow and still staying as stable as you can
Right. Yeah.
takes the kind of support that families give, and your support system, friends, your network, your trusted circle gives you to be like, keep going forward, keep dreaming the dreams, but have the work ethic.
Yes.
And so it's that work ethic and pivoting, that skill to be able to pivot. It is so important that when strategy A and B are kind of like in the works and not exactly working, pivot to this next thing, because you
Right.
have this
Be
skill.
flexible.
You have this entrepreneurial skill. You have this ability to be a network between people. Let's do this. And then having that smarts to be able to do that comes also from nurturing.
It
The
does.
way you guys have done, with your families. And I think that's
Well,
amazing.
I think you hit the nail on the head, is that it is about supporting your kids and
Yeah.
supporting their dreams. And we did that from a young age with them and wanted them to be whatever they think they want to be and want to grow into. And just being there to nourish them, and like you said, and just allowing them to just go
Yeah.
and fly,
I thought what else was interesting that you just said was pivot, because we had to pivot with our contract.
Yes.
And sometimes you do have to pivot. Sometimes,
Yes.
like you said, plan
Life
A
makes
and
you
plan
pivot.
B we just
And it's
pivoted
scary.
in a different
It's
direction.
not always easy,
Yes.
but you just kind of have to go with it.
I've heard that,
I
when
love
you
that,
get too
yes.
comfortable, things, are actually going to be best for you in the long run.
Yeah.
Because comfort means you're not always challenging yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from you both. I know, Kavita, we've talked about this. What's changed in the industry since you've gotten started with your kids? And what are some things that have remained a constant?
Wow, that's a good question. So I think that, well, obviously it's so different. Auditions alone are so different. Everything is on Zoom, or, you don't have to actually go in for auditions anymore,
Yes.
which is, I think, has opened up a huge space for everybody to be in certain things. Yeah.
Zoom for me has helped me not, I don't want to say waste, but it's cut down travel time.
Yes.
It's cut down time in the waiting room. Now, it is awkward. I don't know if your sons experienced this, but like you're standing on Zoom waiting in
Yeah.
the waiting room
And then all of a sudden-
with your setup. Well, and they're maybe running behind.
Yeah.
And then like I'm standing in my own house alone for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, oh, it's my turn finally. It's a whole other
Yes.
thing. But you are, saving time, but you're not making that in-person human connection.
I was just going to ask you,
right?
that. Do you think that it's the same dynamic when you go in for an audition as when you're doing it on Zoom? I don't think you can get the same
Energy.
Right.
the same.
You have to,
yes.
it's a method learned. You have to
Yes.
figure out how to use the microphone, the video, to make eye contact, to say hi. Like right now, I'm looking at the camera for those of you watching on YouTube. But also beyond that, my agent gave me great advice. She said, nowadays, when you do self-tapes, unless they say in the slate, only say this. Feel free to say, hey, how you doing? And a little bit, just a little bit of banter.
Yeah.
Very short and sweet. It shouldn't be beyond the 20, 30 seconds, right? But say, hey, how's it going? How are you today? My name is Walid. And I always thought that's weird to ask someone, how are you? And they can't reply because it's via video. But it's to show that personality, to show that energy, that just, uniqueness.
Yeah.
Because if you're in person, you're
You would say
getting
that
You
normally
would
in
say
person,
that.
right?
That's organic and natural to say that.
So that's changed clearly over the times. And Katie, I'm curious from you, you've had, your family deal with showbiz, you're in showbiz. What have you noticed has changed and remained similar since?
That's interesting. I can only kind of speak on the YouTube side.
Okay, YouTube, we'd love to hear it.
But I feel like when I started YouTube, we started kind of early on when it was like YouTube was a baby and it wasn't as saturated and it was just very organic. And if I were to start it today, I would have to have, not that I had a strategy back then because it was organic, there was no strategy. But I feel like if I started today, there would have to be a strategy.
Sure.
And it's so much more competitive and you kind of have to use a little bit more clickbait. I kind of didn't use a lot of clickbait back then. I almost prided myself on not using clickbait. It was just whatever happened that day. But I feel like today you have to.
Do you think your show would stand up as well today as it did back then?
That is a great question, and I think I've thought about this, and I don't think it would. I think it was about the timing, and about that it was new, and it was
one of a kind.
Yes, and it was organic. And today it's more about shock and awe.
Yeah.
And you were filming one episode a day.
Every day we would.
Retention rate. People swipe. They only watch the first 3 to 5 seconds. And we hear that often for actors in their demo reels, their acting auditions. Casting is watching hundreds. If you don't lock them in the first 3 to 5 seconds, it's a miss. Is that the same with music too?
Yeah. Oh my God,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That first, your first 5 seconds of your YouTube video has to have the exciting part of your song pop
Something
up.
that
You just can't
catches you.
We're
because
moving the
people's,
hooks to earlier now. We're moving the choruses to earlier up,
the
it sounds
attention
like.
spans of people is
Right.
so
So small.
limited.
And there's no consistency in that, in the audience that you get, or why one thing. I think that's what Grant
Oh my God,
probably
yeah.
struggles the most with is on TikTok mainly. You can put out one video and for whatever reason,
Grant and I talked about that.
Yes, it just goes viral, and then you do something that you think is going to just kick ass, and it just flops, and it makes no sense. There's no rhyme or reason.
The
There's a
algorithm is
combination of things.
unknown.
The algorithm plays
Don't
into
fight
it.
the algorithm.
Exactly. And that is a mystery. So you don't really know because you are putting out quality, great content. But if it's not seen by anybody, there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Yes.
And
then you just got to keep redoing
keep doing
the
it.
same video.
It's a process,
Put it out there.
and it feels like you're running around in circles, putting out the same thing over and over again. But you really do have to do it. So coming back to
Yes.
your point about strategy and all of that,
Consistency.
I would like to believe, because I'm a romantic at heart, I would like to believe that authentic, genuine, humorous, natural stuff will always be enduring. And that is
Agreed.
that is why those things are like values you cannot remove from your brand that you're putting out. So that has to be there.
The core.
But the core, exactly. But having said that, we do have to balance it out to be a
The
performer and
trends.
artist
With the
today.
trends.
And it's very important to balance both out. And in every trend that you're doing, sprinkle in your authenticity and your
Yes.
naturalness. That's
You're right.
all
Some
you
of
can
those-
do.
Yeah, that's all you can do. And it's hard because sometimes you get the comments. I've seen it a couple times on Grant's reposting something over and over, and they're like, "Didn't we already see this?"
Oh
or
my God,
something?"
yes.
And I say to Grant, "Oh, why you repost?" I don't totally follow and understand TikTok like I should, but he's like, "Yeah, but you're only going to certain audience, and so you have to kind of do it again."
He's
so that it
100%
picks up
right.
That algorithm.
Yes.
And it was frustrating. So Grant was recently, it was about a year ago, on American Song Contest. So do you guys know?
Oh, familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah. So it was based off of a show called Eurovision, and
Right.
they had all of the countries compete against
Correct.
each other. ABBA came out of it. I believe Celine Dion
Amazing.
came out of it. Yeah, some really great artists, and it's about the song, not the artist. So Grant.
Well, when you're
competed.
like Grant and you're an amazing songwriter.
It was
And
all
artist,
right. Shout out. He was on. They basically brought it to America, And they had all 50 states plus 5 U.S. territories and Washington. And Grant represented Texas.
Yes, Texas.
And yes. And so, it was interesting to watch because it was about the song, which people couldn't quite grasp. They're like, why are we watching him do the same thing 3 times? And they would just build it up and make it bigger each time. And we had to be like, it's about the song. But it was very difficult as parents to post about it and support him in that way on the different sites, because it's hard when you're, everybody's supportive of you, your friends are supportive, but after a while it gets like, all right, already, we get it, he's doing this, he's doing that, and you're just looking for like engagement and to bring up the numbers, and I think that's a really hard thing in this business, is to gain that audience interaction and the engagement without saturating them and without them feeling like they're beating you over the head with it.
Right.
We've talked about this multiple times, even in our last podcast, on how not to take personally your inner circle's reactions or lack thereof on social media, especially when, like you've said, you've posted a while, there's been support from the family and community, but it's something you have to keep doing because it's a business. Yes. What are the expectations of your inner circle and network, and how do you utilize it without getting upset or annoying them? You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because my ex-husband Sean has a really hard time with it. He'll post something of Grant's new song out and he'll get very little interaction. And then he's like, and then I'll post like a picture of my food and you get like 500 likes, and he really struggles with it because he's like, my friends aren't even like clicking on it and doing this. And I said, you cannot dictate what people are going to do.
Correct.
You just have to let it happen. And it's not that they don't care. People are, I hate to say it, there's jealousy out there or a little intimidation.
It's a combination of things.
It's a combination of
and
things.
it's not always personal. And that's the thing.
And that's the thing.
And that's the thing. It's understanding that now our human journey and our brand journey have merged into one.
Yeah.
Right? So on your social media, you're now putting out the picture of the food you had for lunch. Again, people love it. And they put a picture of you in a sundress, and people are like, oh, love it, because that's the human brand.
Yes.
But then if you're talking about the business brand into it, if you talk about it once, they're like, yay, congrats on starting it. If you talk about a highlight, they're like, yay, congrats on the highlight. If you talk about it every day, which you have to. But if you do, they're just like, okay, fine. The few people that get it will support it. So meaning, like thinking back to like 40 years ago, would our parents be like at a dinner party talking about the metal pipes and valves that they've sold that day from 9 to 5? Would they talk about? So if they brought it at the business at the dinner, they'd be like, why are you talking about the family? Who cares about how much you sold today? But we have to today because it's like, oh my God, that's part of the business, and it merges, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think we have to accept the fact that, okay, you know what? People are going to support when they see it, and they want to, and they can.
And you just have
they're
to
doing the
accept
best they
it for
can,
what it is.
and you cannot ask
Face
about
value.
it, and it's fine. And you have to trust that the system is working, and it's the times we live in.
We'll wrap with this. We'd love to hear, whether it's dating or about entertainment entrepreneurship, what's a piece of advice that you'd like to leave our viewers with to just marinate on?
I was going to say consistency, because that is on, I feel like on the YouTube side, consistency is huge. But I'm not taking my own advice, because on the relationship side and Bumble side, I'm not being consistent. I'm like checked out.
That is so interesting, right? Is it hard to do that? Is it something that's so personal, so you have to be like, you have to go with the flow of how you feel?
We're just different, and I am not into that online dating.
Yeah,
she'll tell you. Go ahead.
I'm a man whore. I'll admit it. No, you know what? We've discovered it's about just what works for you. And she has dogs. We've talked about this. She has little dogs, and that's comforting for her. And that can just
stay
attention.
home.
Her kids are also home with her.
Yeah,
they
I'm not
live
really
at home with her.
alone or lonely.
I'm alone.
Yeah.
I'm alone. I don't have pets because I like to travel and I'm very
Kids have grown
spontaneous.
up. Yeah.
My kids are out of the house. It's me the majority of the time. So do I want a companion? Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
If I could just have a man just sitting there with me every night.
When you're ready for him.
When I'm ready, I'll be like, go, come.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
So I am very excited to watch the upcoming episodes on all the different experiences you ladies share.
Yes, can't
And
wait.
this is just so amazing. Thank you both for being here, being our friend, and being like so open to sharing all of those different learnings. And I think we need to have you guys back
We'd
again
love to, please.
very soon so we can continue this conversation.
Yeah.
But thank you for having us, because
Yes.
Andrea kind of
Yes.
introduced me to you guys, and I
Yes.
think what you guys are doing on here is so important for people who
Thank you.
don't know anything about the business
Yes.
and want to learn, or people who are in it and still don't know. Like, there's so much to learn.
Thank
I
you.
think
And
you
we're
guys-
learning daily, and you've taught us
Oh my
so
God,
much
yes.
today. So thank you for sharing golden nuggets. Yeah,
Yes.
this has been so much fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
With that, please give us some love, leave us some comments, and let us know what you think about today's topics. You know, you can leave comments on Instagram, TikTok, find us on all streaming platforms and YouTube. And without further ado, I'm Walid.
I'm Kavita Raj, and this is
Lights,
Camera,
camera, and
conversation.
Cheers.
Thank you all.
Thank you to our
Cheers.
guests. Salud. Hey, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow on Instagram and TikTok. We love interacting. Also, the content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, which we love, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from Lights Camera Conversation or our individual authors, hosts, or guests. Nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. We always encourage you to do your research. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Lights Camera Conversation. The views expressed by speakers are their own, and their appearance on our program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. Thanks for listening, and until next time, have a great day.